What's going on, you guys? How you guys are doing here? Jason here. Just wanted to show you my new wire installation. I ran that all from the attic all the way down, and I had to put a wireless clicker here because the wall switch would not open the door where it shouldn't have been over there. So I'm moving it. I'm going to come over here and show you something really unique. This is the title of my video, that I had no wall switch. I ran a new cable from the ceiling all the way up. I'm using thermostat wire because it's a better conductor, 18 gauge. There's the switch right there. I would come out and that would be on the wall over there, and it would have no power. One of the things you want to pay attention to is a lot of the houses would use this type of wire. Is not a very good conductor. It would come out of the ceilings and it would be like the old telephone wire, Cat 5. So what I did is I replaced that with a thermostat wire. You know, it's interesting when you call someone, they want to sell you a new unit. You want to pay attention to the screws right there, wall and common, and that says common and beam. Those wires work, and I put some tape on it because the prior unit had a metal leg here, and I didn't want the wires to get pinched or cut. If you can see the motor on this, it's a solid motor, and the rail is one solid piece. Now on a hurricane door, you want a 2 horsepower motor or 3/4 power from a motor, one of those two. But I hung that as a temporary to test it, and there was nothing wrong with this unit. It's amazing when you call somebody, they want to sell you an overpriced, expensive unit. But I ran a new wire here, and I put it on there and did everything. But there's the new wire from the ceiling all the way coming down. There's the new wire I ran from the attic. You can see it's a very decent unit. So I've been testing this, and I cut some 18 gauge wire, and this is a new switch, and you can see it's powered on very, very good. So, you know, with a little knowledge, this stuff is not difficult. You know, I'm professional in this. This is not something I would recommend someone to do unless you're trained in this. You can see I put in heavy duty springs on my garage door on both sides. And this is a solid steel rail, not one that gets put together. That's the difference. And you see how quality the springs are on there. A lot of these homes don't even have hurricane graded garage doors. I got a double rafter up there. This is from my YouTube video, and you can see just how professional this is. And no, I do not use Wi-Fi on it. I use a lot of manual controls. Those buttons are if you wanted to learn the door up and down, how it's to close the beam. I don't like a lot of those connections, but somehow someone put a heavy duty wire on that side and it's working. But if anything else goes out, I'm going to replace it. And I used 18 gauge thermostat wire. And this is just a test for the switch, and it's working. Got 2 lights there, a blue and a red. The finished product here. I hung a clicker here so I can open the door. I had an extra one. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a track on the wall here. And this wire will come down from the ceiling with a track. It's going to go inside it. But this is what I did. If you look at the ceiling, I went up in the attic. I ran that very carefully. I'm going to put a track down the wall, and we're going to make it work on the ceiling. I hung a test switch to make sure that it still works. Doesn't come up with any problem with the sustain board or anything like that. The blue wire is the antenna. So, you know, you got to understand when you work on this stuff, you got to have a knowledge of how it works. It ain't just go out there and just use any type of wire on it. I used a good quality wire. The longer the wire run, the more of a voltage drop you're going to have. These can range from 12 volts to 24 volts. And there's the bracket over there. And yes, I do have a new surge protector I'm going to install, but that's a test switch to make sure that everything works the way it should work. And the springs are fine on the door, so it wasn't a spring issue. Now, working with springs on a garage door, you got to be very careful. Springs can, cause real physical injury if you don't know what you're doing. Now, when I look up here, you see how professional those springs look? There's not a thing wrong with them. New steel bar. The cables are solid. The header is solid on top. It goes all the way across. And this is a really good quality door opener. And it does its job very, very well. I've been working with electronics, and I understand electronics. I understand wiring diagrams. This is not something I would go tell the average homeowner to go and do unless you have prior experience, because you can really foul up one of these garage doors. And the motor. This is not the average motor that you buy on a Hurricane door. It takes a really, it takes a heavy-duty motor. The springs do most of the work when you raise and lower the door. And there's the back of the door. You see the double brackets there. This door can stand up to 260 mile-an-hour winds. And it has a bar that will lock and go across on the inside. And the door will not sway in. And you can just see how important that I had to run another wire. You pay your technician and they should know, but they're not going to go up in the attic. This is a lot of the old wire here on the left. That was never a good wire to begin with. And you can see why I use thermostat wire, because it's made to go through the ceiling of the walls. This is like the same thermostat wire I have in the living room that I replaced and put new in here. And it wasn't a GFI issue. It wasn't an electrical problem. When I first had no power, I'm thinking, did a circuit breaker trip? So I checked all the fuses. I remember this garage was rewired with the house with a new GFI receptacle. This is not something I would go tell you to fool around with if you don't know what you're doing, because you can short out something very, very quickly. The blue wire is the antenna. The blue on the left is your common, and the red on the right. The red on your right is your beam for the eyes of the door. The left side will be a common, and those are your wires that control the switch to make the circuit work. This has an LED light under it when the door opens and closes. It has one feature. If I close the door and the light goes out, it will come on dim, but then when I close it, the light goes bright. It has some cycles with it. It doesn't matter what door opener you have. The idea is to make sure it's installed properly and you do it correctly. This is not a do it, just go fool around and start poking around. I knew what to look for. I knew what the issue was. This whole project cost me about $35. I bought thermostat wire. I bought a track to put on the wall. I moved the switch from on the right to the left, which is a hideous job. Until I can get the rest of this finished, I'm gonna have another clicker on this garage door. Something was acting a little weird. The motor is quiet. The belt is good. The track is good. The motor is good. The door is balanced. There's no vibrations. There's no noise. When you open a garage door, it should go up very quietly. It shouldn't be making all this loud noise. If the opener is making all this loud noise, it could be a bad sprocket on the motor. It can be a bad opener. The door could have bad springs. Be very careful, because these springs can cause real physical injury. A spring can snap back and hit you, and really they can be very dangerous. You got to know the right tension. This is a solid metal track, and it doesn't be put together in pieces. It's one long length. And there's the quality of the motor. Those are the old wires. I'm going to change all of those tomorrow, and we should be good. But here is my video. If there's anything you learn, or if you have any doubt and you don't know how to do this, I'm letting everyone know what their disclosure to hire a professional. I do it professional. I do it for myself. I'm trained. I was taught by other people. So this is not something I would tell somebody to go do. And I did a lot of testing on this garage door opener, the board, and there's not a thing wrong with it. There's the temporary leads, and that switch does work. So I want to encourage everyone, think, plan, and do, and it shouldn't be a problem. I covered up the name of the brand of this. This is a very nice unit. You don't have to put any light bulbs in it. Show you the top there. It's solid all the way in studs. And I checked everything. I ran up in the attic. The brown wire is the thermostat wire. I'm going to run it on that side. And we should be good. Hope you got something out of the video. And this is the button that can do all different things. So I want to encourage everybody. Hope you're doing well. Peace. I'm out.